Greetings, Koopalings, and welcome to the Play Some Video Games podcast. We've got a very special episode here for you tonight. It is our Switch reactions. Yes, Nintendo has released their newest console to the masses. They've shown us everything that we need to know about it. Or did they? Joining me in the Nintendo Shack is none other than Nathan. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm pretty sure that I'm able to join here just temporarily, right? Because, you know, that whole business about the attack from the Empire.
We're going to have to check your visa and stuff. Yeah, I don't know how that goes. And making his first Nintendo Shack appearance, making his first PSVG appearance, helping us out here as we're a few men down here in the Nintendo Shack, is none other than Sean Capri.
Hey, it's me, guys.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Jason! Sean! Thank you. Some people have no idea what we're talking about, but that's okay. We'll perpetuate the inside jokes just a little longer here.
Quickly, let our listeners know, for those that don't already, who you are and where you come from.
My name is Sean Capri. I come from the land of Canada, and some of you might already know me from a little podcast that I do called We the Gamer Cast, where amazing people like Nathan Thomas join me. I have sweet hangs with strangers from the internet every week, and that's on We the Gamer Cast on iTunes and what the hell else do I put it on? Google Play, and can be found on WeTheNerdy.com. And I also do If We Ran Nintendo with Bobby Pauls, the Nintendo Guru. That's every Wednesday-ish on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube.com/Nintendo Guru. A little plug there. That's weird. It's weird to do.
We always let everybody do that. We would tell you to tell us your favorite gaming memory and tell us about, what games you played when you were 13, but unfortunately, we don't have time. We have a lot to cover tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Nintendo just had a presentation in Tokyo where they unveiled the Nintendo Switch to the world. Now, without spoiling anything, because we've got plenty of time to dive into this, I do want to ask you a couple things. Most notably, what did you think about the presentation in total, Nathan?
The presentation in total. So, first off, they need to give the voiceover guy that's translating a bit of a script that he can just read.
Yep.
I felt so bad for him by the end of the night. I couldn't tell if it was two guys doing it or just one, but that's one thing I would definitely change. But overall, I compared it to the PS4 Pro reveal, kind of. And I think that I personally like this one better than the PS4 Pro reveal because it wasn't all monotone talking and things like that. There were a lot of jokes that didn't quite hit, but it was a overall. It was a Japanese presentation, very, very much so. And I thought they did okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't really what I was hoping for, but it's what we got.
I, unfortunately, thought it was awful. And I'm not even going to pull my punches on this. I miss Nintendo Directs. As a loyalist here, I really do. I think watching Nintendo go back on stage for the first time in what feels like forever, just as a blatant reminder why they should have stayed off it to begin with. These things I don't think they lend themselves well to this, especially when you're doing audiences where you have a giant audience in Japan and a giant audience here in America. Having to translate in real time and talk over somebody in their native language, and, like you said, all the humor was missed. All of the jokes were missed. We had all kinds of people going, Splatoon 2 on stage! And it's just like he's standing there, and there's silence. I really didn't like the presentation, so I'll just say that and let that be my piece. Sean, did you care for it?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I had a lot of hype and momentum coming into this thing, and they started out pretty well without getting too much into the details. But they start off with a few announcements, and I'm like, yeah, I'm digging this, and things are going great. And then things start to slow down a little bit, and what reveal is this, and what exactly am I looking at, and wow, I know that this is only going to be 60 minutes, so pick it up, guys. We're kind of running out of time for the greatness that's supposed to be coming today, and I never felt like it really maintained. We had a good start, we had a very terrible middle, and a wonderful trailer at the end, so overall I found myself very disappointed and a little deflated by the end of it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I was just kind of let down by the whole thing. I will say I did a live reaction. So for our listeners, you can actually watch me react live to the conference. It's on YouTube. It's my first time ever live streaming an event, so I hope it's not just incredibly boring. But I got really excited when they opened the doors. and you see like these lasers and smoke, and
like a
there's a
rave.
DJ. I was like, whoa, this is a brand new Nintendo. No, it's not. No, it's the exact same Nintendo it used to be. They come on stage, they're in suits, they stand still, they don't do anything, they just talk. It was, I didn't like it. But you know what? That aside, a bad presentation has never killed a console. I think, Nathan, how about that Xbox One, that first one? That wasn't so good. But
TV.
But it's never completely killed a console from the beginning. What really matters is the system and the games and the features, and they did show this. They showed a lot of it. So, the nitty-gritty. Here's the statistics. The Nintendo Switch, the tablet with the controllers that we've seen in the reveal video, is $300 here in America. I believe it's roughly like $400 US everywhere else in the world. Sean, can you back me up on that?
I don't know about it's $400 Canadian dollars, so I will be paying $400 of my own money towards this thing. So
I tried to find prices in the UK and Australia today, and I had a hard time because I kept seeing like exchange rates and how much it costs in American dollars in Canada. So I was hoping that maybe you could provide some clarity. So
I think it works out to that. I think the exchange rate works out to $300 American dollars is $400 Canadian dollars. So it's almost like they did the math beforehand.
$305.04 in the US.
Yeah.
There you go. So it's $300 here in the States. It comes with the console, the dock, the two Joy-Cons, which we will get to in a minute, the grip, which the Joy-Cons set in, and cords and straps to plug it into your TV and the wall and all that jazz. It has 32 gigabytes of onboard storage. You can put in a micro SD card to expand the memory, and it's got a 720 screen display inside of it. Now, there was also a slew of accessories, and before we get into them, let's talk about Joy-Cons. Gentlemen, let's share the joy. Nathan, I want to share the joy with you.
Do you really?
That conference was terrible. It was so bad.
I want to say, okay, they're terrible Switch puns, though. First couple times I was like, I see what you're doing there. But then they just kept on doing them, and I was like, oh my gosh. Let's switch it over to this person.
Oh, so the Joy-Con, whatever you think about the name, the new controller is more or less basically a Wiimote. Now, what they showed on stage for way too long, in my opinion, they spoke forever about this control. This controller better be like the greatest thing to gaming ever. The amount of stage time they spent talking about it. It's motion controlled. I really didn't expect Nintendo to come out back in motion control, especially after the Nintendo Switch reveal trailer, where they didn't show really any of that. We knew it was going to be there, but boy, did they double down on it. And the thing that I believe it's got most people with some sticker shock and taking a gasp is they're $40 each, or how most people will buy them, $80 for the pair. Because while you can play games with just one, if you're going to carry the Switch with you, you kind of need two. So let's switch over to Sean.
Oh,
Sean, what do you think about
it's so early.
the Joy-Cons?
Well, I feel like we've been on a bit of a journey with the Joy-Cons in that in the very first reveal back in October, which seems like a lifetime ago, it showed the guy on the airplane pulling the controllers out and playing them not attached. I wasn't expecting that back then. I remember seeing a patent that sort of indicated that there was infrared, so it looked like the controllers needed to be connected. And then we realized that there might be some Bluetooth or some sort of wireless connectivity there. And I actually quite like that positioning. I like being able to have my hands kind of separate, not pulled together, which actually collapses if you guys want a little ergonomics lesson here, having any controller, any gamepad, it collapses your shoulders inwards and it causes you to have a sore back. So I actually like to open up my chest a little bit. I can spread out my hands and kind of just have a very relaxed grip with these two separate controllers like I did back with the Wii, but no longer with the cord in between. So I like the freedom there. I actually was impressed by a lot of the technology that's in this, and I don't know that too many people are talking about the ability to point this thing. It almost looked like, and they didn't tell the story well enough, it almost looked like it has Wii Remote capabilities that you can point it at the screen, kind of like a pointer. So I want to know a little bit more about that. They spent maybe a little too much time on the haptic feedback, like the rumble packs inside with the ice. This ice cube thing went on and on and on. But way more technology in these things than I was definitely expecting. What I really thought was surprising was the little grips that you can get on as well that build them out a little further and make the shoulder buttons a little bit more prominent. So I think that's going to be a real difference maker, but it's a tough thing to show on a presentation, I think. It doesn't really get too many people excited. So I think there's mixed feedback coming back on the Joy-Cons. I think it's interesting. I don't hate them as much as a lot of people do. I'll save my hate for a lot of the rest of the presentation, but this, along with a lot of the other things about the console itself, I am actually sold on. I do like that right out of the box, you can say this thing comes with 2 controllers, whether they're full-on controllers or not. That's not really the point. The point is that right out of the box, you can have 2 people playing games together. And I think that is a positive. The price tag, way too high, and it's amplified for me as well because our currency is worth nothing, so I paid more. These will probably cost me $100 for the pair.
So is the sticker shock just because people, they look at it like it's, 2 Joy-Cons that snap onto the thing, so you gotta have 2? I mean, they're priced exactly the same as the Wii Remote, I believe.
Well, I think you're right, but I remember thinking those were too expensive as well.
Okay,
for what they were.
Okay, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. I, too, was impressed by the technology inside. I think the pointers and the rumbles could be used well. Now, it's up to Nintendo to use that stuff, but even if I'm impressed with the technology inside, I still say that they spent way too much time on stage talking about it.
On that point, though, I'm just going to jump in one more.
Go ahead.
At least we don't have the nunchuck. At least we don't have to pair it up with yet another thing. So it was $40 or $50 before for a remote, and then another 25, I think, or 30 for the nunchuck. So we spent a boatload of cash on the Wii. So that's what I'll say about that.
Sure, absolutely. Nathan, you want to share on the Joy?
So these Joy-Cons, when they're on the side of the Switch, they look fine. That's how I'm probably ever going to use them. I'm never going to take them out and put the Switch on the stand and then use them in the little weird configuration because that just looks like it's too close to each other to me. I mean, I haven't held it in my hand, but just from the images, it looks like it's too close. But those things, there is no way anybody could play with that thing. Just that, if you're playing Mario Kart with somebody else and you're just like, oh, here, you take the left one, I'll take the right one. That's not going to feel right at all. And did you see the size of that D-pad? Is that an actual D-pad at the top of that thing, or is that just a button?
They're both split D-pads.
No, at the very top.
No, it's a plus
left.
sign. It's like a plus
Oh,
minus
yeah,
on
there's
the Wii.
plus minus sign.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks... I mean, I have to get it in my hand to really feel, what they're doing with it. But as far as the pricing of it goes, to me, it feels like it's too expensive because when you compare it, because this is what ships in the box, right? You compare that to a PlayStation 4 controller, which they retail usually about $50 US, and they're frequently on sale down to 30, 40, somewhere around there. The Xbox One controllers are the same. So they're like half the cost for a full controller, and it's the price of one Joy-Con, So that's where, to me, the pricing just doesn't feel right.
Okay. I really think... I just personally, I think the sticker shock comes with the fact that I think when you look at the Switch as a product, you at least I did, you have to buy a pair. You can't buy one. Whereas a Wii remote, you can buy one. Like if you buy a Wii with a Wii remote and you need to play with another person, you can just buy one. But I don't know how many people are just going to be buying one Joy-Con because there's a left and a right.
Yeah.
It's just kind of unbalanced. You have to have both.
It's sort of, that's, I guess, maybe the closest parallel to the Wii remote and the nunchuck comparison.
Yeah.
Is that you have to have both. But the thing is that it comes with, the one... I don't know how many of these things we need around. I don't know if we need to go out and buy another pair or even a single. It's going to come with the 2 that you're going to play with. And then other than that, is there anybody who's really going to be reaching out for these instead of the Pro controllers instead?
We are going to come to that later.
Oh.
So let's table that for now. So moving on. You mentioned the Pro controllers.
I see the show notes.
The Pro controllers are $70. So if you were Nathan and you're like, my Xbox One controller is $50, well, Nintendo's going to charge you $70 for their equivalent of that. Docks for your Nintendo Switch are also going to be sold separately, which was a pleasant surprise to me. I think that's interesting. If you want to go the full Nintendo Switch, you can have docks in multiple places of your house.
That's awesome.
So you can pick up and charge and play in different rooms. I think it's great for families. But what's not so great, that dock, which has already been proven to not really provide any processing power, inside of itself, is $90. So it is a $90 HDMI pass-through. And then there's a slew, just a ton of $20 and $30 plastic accessories, from the grip to the
Didn't
comfort
we learn
grips.
our lesson with those already? Those are just
so
stupid.
We're going to come back to this later. So I want to ask you guys, I'll go ahead and answer first. What are our impressions of the hardware overall? Just the hardware and the price. $300, you get basically everything you need except a video game.
And that's ridiculous.
I stand by the statement. I think this is a really impressive piece of piece of kit. I like it. It looks good. It's sexy. It's I really enjoyed it. Whether you're into the neon colors or the gray colors, I really think it looks attractive. I think the price is right. $299. It gives them flexibility, I believe, to move if they need to, as we've seen Nintendo do in the past. But if my GameStop is any inclination, they're not going to have to move anytime soon. Sean?
Yeah, so I'd like the separation here, because I was on the Geekcast with the Nintendo guru Bobby Pauls and Toby the other night, and I couldn't communicate how I was totally convinced on the Switch as a device, but the launch lineup, which we'll get to in a bit, that I'm not too thrilled about it. And the presentation, as we've mentioned, was really weak. But the tech is really what's carrying me through. The fact that I can take this thing and with another dock, I can plug it into another TV. I can take games on the go. I can basically, what I'm probably most excited, and the way that I'm going to use this the most, is where I'm playing games on the couch and it's about time to go to bed. I want to pick that thing up and take it with me until my eyes close themselves. So I basically am going to be maximizing my gaming time with this thing. And there's no other device that allows me to do that. This is something that I've been wanting for a very long time, and Nintendo is finally giving it to me. So the hardware itself is great. The accessories are also great, and I comment on the hardware, or on these accessories, but not I wouldn't take it all too seriously. When we need these things, we will buy them, and it's really not until you're in that situation that you really can offer a genuine critique or evaluation of these things. I don't think, anyways. It's totally conjecture at this point. We're very far away. We're far away from owning this thing.
49 days.
It's just not right now. You know what I mean? We're gonna have to make that call when we get it and go, is this too much now that I actually need this thing? Maybe it's not quite the same conversation at that time.
Nathan?
So here, let's just stair step this, right? We talked about the hardware. How I have always been intrigued, I guess I could call it, by the PlayStation Vita. How does this compare to the Vita? Like the 720 resolution, the 6.2 inch size. What does that compare to the PlayStation's Vita? Does anybody know? Does anybody have one?
I have a Vita, but I don't know what the resolution is. I can't imagine that it's less than that.
Nintendo Switch is bigger and better. So I believe the Vita is 540p. It's 540p and it's slightly smaller. It is, yeah. And I have the Vita, and games look great on the Vita. So
I was going to say, that bodes well for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that I've heard come out, and this might be jumping a bit, so we'll just keep this comment here, is a lot of people that are putting their hands on are going, I think games look better on the screen than they do on the TV. That's going to make sense because the screen is so small. Yeah. If you're running 720p on a 6-inch screen, it's going to look beautiful.
Yeah, remember when we thought 720p looked great on 42-inch screens?
Exactly. So at 540p on the Vita size screen, games look great. I mean,
that's
it
amazing.
Looks perfect, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that bodes well, at least for this guy. So what was the cost of these Vita originally? Was it close to $300?
Ooh, now that is a good question.
It must have been. It must have been. It didn't come down to 200 at least for a very, very long time, and then only until recently was it sub 200. So yeah, it's got to be around there. Somebody's going to correct me on that, but in the interest of moving things forward, I think.
Right.
So you're trying to compare a portable versus this hybrid thing.
Because we've had the Vita for a while now, and there's people that have it that love it. So for my situation, I'm going to be using this mostly as a Vita because I'm getting it for travel if I get one, and I'm taking it to the hotel rooms. I'm using it on the planes. for up to 2 hours. And it's just, that's where I'm looking at using this guy if I was in those use cases. So that's kind of where I was comparing. You can't compare this to an Xbox One S or a PlayStation Slim or anything like that, because it's not apples to apples. So I was trying to look for the middle ground, which I think Vita kind of is for that comparison. Okay, the Pro controller. To me, I need this controller, right? I need to have it in my hand to really make sure that I want it, because it looks like a controller that I'm going to want to get, and it kind of emulates the Xbox One controller in a sense. So I do think that if I get this, I'm probably going to have to get a Pro controller, which, again, is adding $70 to the price. I'm going to try it without it first, because, well, I don't know. Do you think the Pro controller will be hard to get after launch?
No.
You don't think so?
Not at $70 each.
And that's what I was thinking. And was the Pro controller for the Wii U 70? It wasn't, right? It was maybe 50.
Nope. It was 50, and I think it even came down to 40. But there was a period in time where it was hard to find, actually.
It was, yeah.
I did check. The Vita launched at $249, but remember how expensive those memory cards were?
Oh, yeah.
And there was a $349.99 bundle at launch with a 4 gigabyte card.
And probably a 3G chip
connection.
as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which that's important to note, too. So that's with 3G connection, so you could take it anywhere and use it. This doesn't have that, which is fine. I don't care. But that Pro controller, that price is just, it feels like that's $20 too much for sure for that. But again, I want to get my hands on it to really feel that and see if it's something that I need. Because when I'm playing on the TV, I'll probably just be using that.
I'm honestly surprised that you're attracted to it, because from the pictures that I've seen of it, I honestly think it kind of looks cheap.
No way!
Personally, I think the Hori pad, the third-party retailer that makes gamepads, I think their Pro controller looks better, kind of by a long shot, actually, and it's probably going to be half the price. I bet theirs is $40.
So to be clear, I'm comparing the Pro controller to the two the Joy-Cons put together, and I would rather have a Pro controller in that situation.
Okay.
So that's where I'm comparing it to. But yeah, if there's something that comes out that's third party that's more up my alley, I would get that in a heartbeat too, and I think it would be cheaper. So the dock part, I wanted to comment on that. So dealing with PCs and laptops, it's not uncommon to have, especially for work scenarios. You have one in your office at work, you have one at your house, maybe another different office. So you can take them around and carry them to the different places. With the Switch dock, $90 is not bad for a dock. Let's just say that. Like a port replicator for a Dell computer probably costs at least about $200, $150 or at cheapest. So that's actually not bad.
Comparison.
What's that?
That's an interesting comparison, Nathan. I never actually thought to compare it to like a dock station for a laptop.
Oh yeah, whenever I think of that, that's initially what I go to, because I work on a laptop. I have a dock, but I go to a different office. I dock it there too. So to me, that makes sense. And $90 price tag for that's not bad. So if you have, let's say you live in a divided household. Maybe you're growing up. You go to your parents, your mom's one day and your dad's another, and you have a dock at each place, but you take your Switch back and forth. That makes sense, right? Or if you frequently travel somewhere and you just want to have one to travel with and one to leave at your house, that makes sense to get another one in those scenarios. So it's not a bad. I'm glad to see that wasn't like $300 on its own, because that would have just been in line with all this other pricing. So yeah, that was my comment on stair-stepping kind of these pieces of hardware. Overall, the tech in it is nice, but with the micro SD XC cards, let's talk about that for a second. Do those have to be a specific speed?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't read or seen anything like that, and trust me, I did tons of research today because I bought 2 of them.
Okay. And is it limited to 128, right?
No, it'd actually go up to 256 if you want to pay that much for it.
So the system will recognize that, though, because I thought the system would only recognize up to 128.
Confirmed
okay, cool.
on the show floor.
Okay, now the next question, what are we going to need that for? Because if we download content for a game, theoretically, it would go onto the card itself.
Yep.
But
you'll be able to register your own flash.
Yeah.
It also supports if you wanted to. So if you're one of those people looking at the Switch and you're like, I'm never going to play it as a portable, it's going to stay docked all the time, you can actually hook up an external hard drive to it as well.
Did they confirm that?
Yeah.
I have been waiting for that information. So I thought that I saw it was a USB 2.0, which I thought might make that not possible. So that's interesting.
The Wii U does it. The Wii U has 2.0.
And it does that. That's right. Interesting. Okay, that is awesome. That is a game changer for me because that's basically why I play my Xbox more than my PlayStation because I've got my entire library there.
Yeah, sure. And 32 gigabyte onboard will be enough to get anybody through launch, especially this launch, which we'll get to here in a minute. But as a Wii U owner, I threw a 2 terabyte hard drive onto it. I never used probably half of it, but I put several hundred gigs on it. I don't like to worry about storage.
Me neither.
So the idea that you can just pay for the storage you want, slap it in there, and be done with it, and it doesn't cost $200 like a Vita, you're good to go.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. That's a good move on their part. From anything else, that is perfect.
Before we move on from hardware and get into the games and the launch lineup, I do want to cover probably what I anticipate might be the most important update from this conference, and that is Nintendo is going for a paid subscription, the Nintendo Online Service. It will be free for all Switch owners that adopt the system early. It will turn into a paid service in the fall. And it will allow you to do things like voice chat and lobbies through an app on your smartphone. It gives you access to exclusive deals in the eShops, a parental controls app, which is a great YouTube video we've retweeted out. It looks incredible. So as a parent, I can appreciate that. You can set playtime limits for your kids when they're playing the console and even shut the game off if they don't listen to it from your phone, which is neat. The one thing that caused mass confusion is they mentioned a monthly game download from the NES or Super Nintendo game library. They even said that some of these Super Nintendo games will feature some sort of online functionality. I originally read that as leaderboards, but maybe that means that they're going to patch in some sort of online play with some of these. But here's the interesting thing. Unlike Games with Gold or PlayStation Plus, where when you subscribe to this subscription service, you get access to these games indefinitely as long as you're a subscriber. Apparently, Nintendo's only going to give you this game for 30 days. So here, Nathan, Super Mario World for 30 days. Now we're going to take it back from you, and you can pay to play it. How does that make any sense in the world, Nathan?
Okay, so especially for them coming to this late to the game, we were already getting it from PlayStation Plus. We're getting it from Xbox Games with Gold. We're getting it from On the House with EA, what's their Origin. Even Ubisoft is getting it on this now and giving you a free game. So for them just to be like teasing you and saying, hey, here's a game, check it out. Oh, it's 30 days. Now buy it. That's, it makes sense for them to get the exposure at least if you wanted to play a game you never thought of it. I'm not going to poo-poo this. It's a nice gesture, but it's not what we would want because we're used to what Xbox, PlayStation, those other people do with these services. You can download it. You may not want to play it right now, but you have it to go to later on. Whereas with the Switch, hey, here's The Legend of Zelda. Go play that in a month, and then see if you want to buy it later on. Again, it doesn't sound like your purchases are going to carry over from the Wii U days to this new cycle, but who knows?
I think they might actually, because they didn't confirm that, but they said that there's more coming on that end soon. So there's something to be said there about transferring purchases. Sean, you want to weigh in on this?
This is a huge miss. I get new games from the library. I get new and old games from the library. They give them to me for almost a month at a time. They get 3 weeks. And so I have that already in my life. I don't pay for my library card. It's free. I guess my taxes go towards that, but that's totally different. This is Nintendo being different for the sake of being different and not for what's best for the player. Unfortunately, this just feels like a sales tactic to get us aware and expose us to the games that we have available to us to purchase. And for many people, unless they tell us differently, likely we will be purchasing these things for the third, fourth, fifth time on a Nintendo console. So unless there's something else that they have yet to tell us, in which case I don't know why they would do that, why they would lead with the bad news. And if they don't see this as bad news, then it's just a completely tone deaf move. So I know that we don't really want to poo-poo on things until we really experience them, but holy crap, this seems like a terrible, terrible idea.
So I've got one thing that I didn't hear many people saying in the last 48 hours that I think could really change the way that this looks on appearance. I think many are assuming, because this is Nintendo's online service and it looks very similar to Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus, that it's going to cost what PlayStation Plus and Games with Gold costs.
Mm-hmm.
What if this just isn't that expensive? Like, what if it's like $10 a year or $20 a year? Like, would that suddenly change the way you look at it? Because I think it would, actually.
I mean, the way that I look at it is that I don't really see, and it's going to be different for everybody, 50, 60, whatever it is going to be different for everybody. But I feel like because PlayStation and Xbox don't really have this extravagant, or in my opinion, it's not a crazy expense that we spend every year on these services, you're really only talking about a few $dozen that you can really realistically save and still have this as a paid service. Like, what are they going to charge? $25? So we're saving. I would gladly pay the difference between, say, a $30 service and a $60 service when I get to keep all the games, and especially with Xbox giving you all the backwards compatibility games. What a great value there is there. I just don't see that they would have to be a significant savings, and just because the way that the others are priced, I don't know that that's even a possibility.
That's a very valid and fair point. I know Sean and I exchanged some tweets about this before the show started. I'm one of the Nintendo minority people that don't want a subscription. I'm tired of a subscription. As Nathan mentioned, I've got an EA Access subscription. I've got a Games with Gold subscription. I have a PlayStation Plus. Like, I'm subscribing to everything these days. I got a Netflix subscription, WWE subscription. I just kind of liked it when I just got to buy the games that I wanted. And I really didn't mind buying Super Mario World on a new system for $6. You know, it's up to me whether I want to buy it or not. Like, if I don't want to play it on the Switch, I don't buy it.
But don't you think that, like, there's a weird thing that happens when you have that annual subscription where you sort of just it creates a gravitational pull to whatever ecosystem that is. Because you have a subscription to Netflix, you're going to turn that on before maybe something else. Because you have your subscription to your PlayStation or Xbox, like, doesn't that make those systems more, like, you want to go check that out? At the very least, you've got to go every month and go into the store and buy them. And I think that's the Trojan horse that nobody really identifies, is that PlayStation especially, they introduced this very early on, giving these free games. They have a vested interest in gamers buying from their store rather than retail. They want to drive people towards digital, but they can't really discount the games because they don't want to upset the retailers. So what do? They train people to go to the digital store, go through the motions so it becomes a behavior that everybody is very comfortable with. And then they go, oh, by the way, while you're here getting your free games, there's all these other things. There's these flash sales, a lot of other incentives for you to stay there. And very quickly, people learn the convenience of buying digitally, and suddenly they don't want to go to retail. So they've effectively changed our behavior without having to discount necessarily a digital version of game versus the retail version of the game. So there's a huge value there that I don't necessarily know that Nintendo is seeing that part of it. They're a little too short-sighted here, where they're giving you an opportunity to play a game for about a month, and then they're going to take that away, so hopefully you buy it. That's not the value for the business, and it's not the value that the gamers wanted to see either. So unfortunately, to me, this is a giant miss.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we asked Sean Capri to join the Play Some Video Games podcast tonight. The deep cuts here. I see that. No, that's a great point. It really is. I touche. I don't really have much of a counter argument.
Everybody's realizing that they've been tricked into buying games digitally now. They're like, damn it, they changed how I wanted to do things. I didn't even realize it.
I bought most of my games on Wii U digitally anyway, and
sure,
you know, I really enjoyed their digital deluxe promotion. It's something me and Jason Lacey have trumpeted up quite a bit. I wish they would have returned something like that instead of this.
Big time.
But you know what? Maybe there's more to be seen. I don't know.
Totally.
We'll wait for them to keep providing more about this. It's worth mentioning before we move on to the games. They really didn't talk about the OS. They didn't show it. They said they'd talk about it later. They did confirm there is no Miiverse or Street Pass on the Switch, so it looks like those services are about to die. And the one thing we completely passed on when we were talking about hardware is they did adopt a share button. So
yes!
I think that's the biggest revolution in this generation is PlayStation putting the share button right on the controller.
I agree.
I think that gave them a significant leg up. And you know what? If you can't beat them, join them.
Yep.
And I appreciate them doing that. It is also worth mentioning they said it'll capture screenshots at launch and video later. So we don't know what that'll look like in the future. But let's move on to the games.
All right. This should be quick.
Launch day, March 3rd, 2017, 49 days from now, you will have access to 6 to 10 games. We'll call it that. We'll round up. You'll have about 10 games.
That's generous.
That is generous. The reason I say that, and I did want to point this out because there is a really good tweet going around stating that the Switch will launch with less titles than the Wii and the 3DS and like several other things. It's worth mentioning, like there's directs coming. We have a direct next week with Fire Emblem and the indie developer, I completely forgot his name, the indie guy that works for Nintendo to get indies folks. He said there's a bunch more announcements coming before launch, he even said. So he went that far. So I feel like there's going to be more there on launch day than 10. But, you know, we'll say what we have for now. We've got 5 to 10 games that you can buy on launch day. Now, we've got Skylanders Imaginators, Just Dance 2017. We've got 1-2 Switch and Super Bomberman R. And then we've got the big dog, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Nathan, what do you think about this launch day lineup for the Nintendo Switch?
He just laughs.
So, I think back to the Xbox One launch and how we had Rise, we had Dead Rising 3, we had Forza, we had all kinds of good stuff to choose from. And they were like special foil kind of cover cases. Do you remember that? They were
Day
great.
one?
It was Day One editions. Yeah, it was Project Day One. Everybody was excited about them, and you felt like you got something special from those. The only thing that's special, and they didn't really talk about it much in the direct, the presentation, was the special and master edition of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which the master edition is all but impossible to get.
I got it.
I know you did. I was like, wow, that's impressive. But I was trying to get one today, and I was trying to help my coworker, who's the biggest Zelda fan that I know, try to get him one. I mean, if I would have gotten one, I would have given it to him. You know, it's one of those things where they know the fans are going to want it, and unfortunately, that means the scalpers are also going to want it. So it's terrible on that side of things. Donnie, hold that thought.
Yep.
But as far as the games go for me, I look at this launch day lineup, and Breath of the Wild would be the game for me out of this list. I wouldn't get anything else. Just Dance is not for me. Super Bomberman doesn't do anything for me. 1-2 Switch, I don't really want to look into anybody's eyes and play a game. I'd rather just play a game and look at the screen. It's just, I mean, maybe Donnie, next time we come to Atlanta, we can look into each other's eyes and have a duel.
But we can duel.
But here's the thing.
I hope the game just trolls people into like staring into each other's faces for 5 minutes at a time.
I'm just waiting for my kids to smack each other in the face with the Joy-Cons.
It'll bring true joy to your face. So what we should do, Donnie, is next time I'm in Atlanta, is I should come down there. We should play 1-2 Switch, and we should just stare into each other's eyes. But
I think that'll have to happen.
With this lineup, it's just Zelda's going to be a purchase for everybody. And, you know, they were being very coy with this launch date for, when's Zelda coming? I don't know. When's it coming? I don't know. Let's switch it over to this guy. Let's talk to him. If this was not a launch title, it would be a failed launch, in my opinion. You would just buy hardware, but you would get no software attachments with it.
Did you realize that when they announced the date, like 4 minutes into the presentation, that the Switch behind Kimishima had Zelda on it, I knew then it was coming at launch date. I was like, there's no way they would have put it on the promo, like
That
on the
image.
sign behind him.
They should have put a 1-2 switch on there.
Yeah, exactly. You should have
Okay.
hidden it a little bit better than that.
Yeah, and let's talk about this real quick. Is this the first console that Nintendo has released that doesn't have a bundled-in game?
That's a good question.
I didn't
Nathan.
buy the GameCube. For some reason, it seems like GameCube would have had something with it. I feel like that would have been a.
I don't have the longest history with the portables, so I can't really speak to them. I got a 3DS, but not a launch, and I can't speak to the SP and the GBAs. That's
same.
that's like a Kevin question. I don't know, Nathan.
So it just,
He's
to
just
me,
trying to
like, you
stump
look
us
at,
all night.
I still believe, though, as much as I know we don't have a full-fledged game, there'll be some sort of software you can play for free. I 100%
demos.
believe there'll be a demo or a small game. There'll be something you can download if it's not already downloaded to it. I'm sure of that. There's no way in the world Nintendo is going to sell a product that you can't. If you don't buy anything at the store, you can't play anything on. I know that for certain. There'll be something. Now, it's probably not going to be good, but there'll be something there. We
You
just
can take
don't know what that
screenshots
is
of the
yet.
UI.
Exactly. Yeah, you can
that'll be
play
nice.
with the UI. I was thinking something like, like the Mi Plaza games or something like. There'll be something like that they do for the Switch.
I dream
think-
a little bigger. I've been saying for a little while now, I would really like to see them just include Mario Maker. I think every Nintendo system should come with a tool set for everybody to make their own Mario games and get to experience those old school kind of 2D levels.
There's no way that happens.
Of course not. But here's the thing, like when you buy like a Mac or like an Apple computer, you get a suite of creative tools and creative ways to use your new toy, and I'd really like to see Nintendo do something like that. I'd like to, like, even if it was Mario Paint, just go all the way back to Mario Paint. I want to be able to just create with this thing. If they're not gonna give me games, 1-2 Switch seemed like a no-brainer packing game,
I know.
or at least part of like a suite of packing games, like little mini games. But of course, that's not what happened.
1-2 Switch definitely looks like the Wii Sports of this console, and I'm hoping that they have. There's no. I'll say this right now. There's no way I'm paying $60 for 1-2 Switch ever. I don't care
I
if it comes
agree.
out and it's the greatest game ever. I'm not doing it.
I agree.
I need a demo for that, and I hope that they have one. I need to demo that game. I do want to say this is a light launch day lineup, and that's being nice to it. But I did some research. So, and not all launch lineups are created equal. So, if you're specifically looking at just raw numbers, the PS4, the Xbox One, the Wii U, the Wii, they all launched with about 25 games, give or take 4 or 5 on each side. The 3DS launched with 18. The SNES launched with 5 back in the United States, and the 64 launched with 2. But the 64 had a great launch because it launched with Mario. The 3DS had 18 games, but its best, noteworthy game was Pilot Wings. That was terrible. I don't even think I knew about the 3DS for the first 2 years of its life. Yes, this launch day lineup sucks. Let's just go ahead and say it. It's bad. It's not good. It's not a handful or a dozen games that you really want to play that you look forward to. But, Nathan, if I may, unlike the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 launches, it launches with the game that you want to play. This is like the PS4 launching with Uncharted or The Last of Us, or Xbox launching with Halo right out of the gate. I mean, the game that you want, the only game that you really want to play, even if some of these others were there, is Zelda. That's it. That trailer. Man, that's the best Nintendo trailer I've ever seen. I don't know a better way to sell a Zelda game than that. I mean, that's it. That's the game. And I think Nintendo is banking on that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is good enough to make you buy hardware. And they think that they have time because that game is so good. And we've had this debate at length here at PSVG, both on the podcast and behind the scenes. I still believe that software, one piece of software, can be so good that you go out and buy hardware. Every time I buy hardware, it is typically not just to play one game only, but it's typically for a specific game with the promise of games coming later. And I'm not incredibly upset with the launch day lineup because The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is there, and I know I'm getting a great game, one that I've followed for 5 years, one that I'm going to be able to play for probably, I'm estimating, 3 or 6 months, if not more. So I'm not I wouldn't play Super Bomberman anyway. Like, some of these other games I really wouldn't play on launch day. Now, it's worth mentioning, launch window has a few more games, almost, up to 30-ish. And like I said, there's going to be some indies that are fill it out. Lego City Undercover, which is coming to PS1 and Xbox, or PS4 and Xbox One, apparently has a bunch of new stuff. I Am Setsuna, which is on PlayStation and Vita, is coming over. It's a great RPG. I'm actually currently playing it right now on PlayStation 4. I really enjoy it. Rhyme and Sonic Mania, and then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe comes in April, about 60 days after launch, give or take, with a whole new battle mode. So the launch lineup is not great. I will say that. If you compare it to the consoles of the last 30 years, it's towards the bottom. But it does have an alpha game.
I'll just say this, that if they didn't have Zelda, I wouldn't even entertain the idea of buying this thing on launch.
I think that's a testament to how good Zelda looks.
Oh, it looks fantastic, too. And this is coming from someone who just played Final Fantasy 15 for, like, a ton of hours, loves The Witcher, and I've only ever beaten one Zelda game, but I love the character. I really do. And this is a game that, if it is the only game for the Switch, and, I take the Switch and I travel a lot, I'll be playing a lot of this game, and it'll be the second Zelda game I ever beat.
Sean?
This has been quite the journey for me, because I have been saying for quite some time that the killer app is dead, that there is no one single game that should ever compel somebody to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a gaming console. Yet somehow here I am with my foot in my mouth, because that trailer, and this whole time I've been looking forward to Breath of the Wild, but I've yet to be really over the top, hands in the air, screaming excited about it. Even with a lot of the in-depth gameplay that they showed, I found to be not, for me, it wasn't the best way to present that game to me. 8 hours of treehouse footage is just, it seemed a little boring. I needed something a little bit more epic and a little more concise, and the trailer at the end of the presentation was exactly that for me. I think that the way that the camera works, at least from what we've seen in this trailer and a couple gameplay clips, the way that the camera works is cinematic, but it's within the gameplay. So you're swinging and there's action scenes, and it's kind of zooming in, like, dynamically. It looks really interesting. I want to see more of this. The voice acting, it looks super emotional, very cinematic. All over. This game looks just incredible. And so I realized this morning that I want to play this game on the bus. And yes. It really had to, because I have about a half an hour commute, which is totally about as easy as it gets. But I get to totally chill out. Usually I play my Vita or my 3DS on my way into work. But now I can play The Legend of Zelda, half an hour there, half an hour back. That's a guaranteed 5 hours a week of Zelda time. And I realized that's all I need. And so that really does justify it to me. And I hope that a couple of the other pieces fall into place. But this Zelda game looks absolutely phenomenal. But it wasn't until the trailer that I was really that excited about it.
In the presentation and since then, I think we've learned there's about 40 games coming to Nintendo Switch that we know of today before the end of the year. And Nintendo said there's another 80 that are completely unannounced in development. I believe they said that 80 is with third party alone. So there's stuff out there. There's indies making stuff. We're going to see more software. I agree that it's light. And you know what? We'll save this. We'll come back. We'll come back at the end. We'll save this at the end. I do want to cover, we don't have time to dive deep into every game that we know about, but I do want to cover on what I think are some highlights. And then if I miss something from either one of you that you want to say, absolutely bring it up. The first highlight that I want to say is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was not in the Switch presentation for what ungodly reason I don't know.
No kidding.
What? Where was the game? They came out immediately after the presentation with a video and YouTube and a press release talking about Mario Kart 8. That presentation could have really used some Mario Kart 8. It looks great. It is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It is the Wii U game, except it's got new characters, it's got new power-ups, it's got new tracks. They did say new tracks. They did not say how many. I know Emily Rogers on Twitter has been staunchly defending that she keeps hearing there's 16 new ones. They didn't say. They just said new tracks. But they did say that there is a new battle mode and at least 6 new battle mode maps. Some remasters from the old ones, not the block fort, but definitely some battle mode specific ones. So this is a major upgrade to the battle mode that we found on Wii U with Mario Kart 8. So I think that's a huge one that comes in April 28th. Like I said, it's about 60 days after launch, so you get to play all the Link and Zelda that you want, and then all of a sudden you got Mario Kart 8 there to help spell you out. Sonic Mania and Lego Undercover are coming. I really enjoyed Lego City Undercover. I really hope they make it better. We've talked about this on the podcast in the past, so I'm not going to jump into it. ARMS. So let's talk about ARMS. ARMS is a game that they showed in presentation. It is a new IP from Nintendo. It is a very colorful fighting game that kind of has this extendable arm, rock'em sock'em robots feel to it. I, while watching the presentation, was let down by both 1-2 Switch and ARMS. I was like, these are not games that you want to trump up your new system. Where is Metroid? Where is Smash? Where are the games that we here for? Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but I do want to say, my kids, we rewatched the thing today because they couldn't stay up late last night. They love ARMS. They were going nuts for this game. They're like, we have to get it. So, Nathan, what do you think about ARMS?
Again, not my cup of tea for sure. I was running the PSVG Twitter last night, and this game came out, and it was announced it was called ARMS. And so I said, it's been confirmed that the Switch has arms, but will it have legs? I thought that was kind of funny. But I just... This game does not look like it's anything I would ever play. But if you have kids, power to you. I mean, it's looks fun for them. And yeah, it's probably who it's aimed at. It's not aimed at us. So they hit the nail on the head for your kids, at least.
Did you play Overwatch?
Less than an hour so far, really.
I'm seeing its graphical or visual style compared to Overwatch a lot, and again, we won't know until we play it, but the response from the show floor from people our age and bloggers that do this is extremely positive. A lot of people are saying this game is way more fun than it has any right to be. So, because I've seen that and that's not just from one person I know, like 20 of our most active followers that were there in Tokyo have been saying it. Because they're saying it and it seems to be somewhat of a consensus, I'm willing to put off my judgment on this. Is it the game I want? No, it's not. I wanted Metroid or Donkey Kong or something like that. But I will say I remain open to being surprised by this game. Maybe it's something more than we think it is. Sean, what did you think about ARMS when you saw it, and what do you think about it now?
I thought it was a packing game again, same with 1-2 Switch. I thought these were games were going to be included just to give us an idea of all the things that we can do with the system. So the fact that they're not a packing game is really the major disappointment for me. Aside from that, it's hard to really cast any judgment just based on the gameplay and what they've shown. But really, it was just the fact that this is not going to be included. I'm encouraged by what we're hearing. That it is a fun game, and I don't doubt that. I was wrong in prejudging Splatoon. When I first saw it, I thought it looked great, and then as we got closer and closer to launch, I remember thinking there's just not enough here for me, and I was completely wrong about that. There's so much in Splatoon. This looks visually sort of inspired by what they've landed on with Splatoon, and maybe some great replayability with just different characters and different abilities. I liked seeing some of the character design with more than just a punching, like a boxing glove on the end. There's blades and there's spinning things. There's lots of stuff going on here. So I'm not ready to totally judge on that one yet, but I wish still, my theme here is that I wish there was more on day one that came with it. This should have been an easy pack and a cheap one, really. It was internally designed. This should be with it.
I think that's fair. I can't disagree with that at all.
I need to say something controversial here. I need to.
I can't. You keep agreeing with me.
True.
So you mentioned Splatoon, and my highlight of the night was Splatoon. It was also the highlight of my kids' night tonight when they watched it. My kids noticed so much more in that 60 seconds of trailer than I ever did. They pointed out every new weapon, and they've got dual guns, and there's a cloud that rains down, and this gun's got turrets, and it rains rockets from the skies. Splatoon 2 was announced during the presentation. Now, it's not coming until this summer. for keeping score. Zelda at launch, Mario Kart 8 in April. At some point, we'll have E3 in early June. Splatoon 2 is marked for summer 2017. So first party lineup, that's kind of what we're looking at. There's been so much news coming out from so many, I don't even know what to trust and what's right and what's wrong. But a lot of people are saying Splatoon 2 is great. It's demoable. It's playable on the show floor. It apparently runs perfectly on the Switch. But a lot of people are also saying they don't really know if this is a sequel or if this is the ported deluxe version. Now, it's got new maps and it's got new weapons. It probably has new modes. But, you know, really, what else could it have? I don't really know how you choose what is a sequel and what's not for a game like Splatoon. You know, it's a multiplayer-centric game, so I kind of feel like a bunch of new weapons and maps warrants a Splatoon. Maybe if they have a new campaign that we don't know about, maybe that makes people feel better about it. But, you know, we get a new Splatoon that apparently runs well. So I'm going to throw it right back to you, Sean, because you just said Splatoon. I mean, what did you think about Splatoon 2?
When I was watching the reveal, I thought for certain that this was not going to be a sequel. I thought this was going to be like what we ended up getting with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then was very surprised that they threw a 2 on it. And I just don't know that I know enough about it. Like, I wasn't picking out those things. I saw the cloud, but just thought that was kind of interesting. But I wasn't picking up on all the new additions, thinking definitely a new game, new and separate game.
The dual guns, if I may interrupt, the dual guns really kind of new.
Sure, but it doesn't, like, dual guns are fine, but is, like, what's the difference between having both hands with a gun in it versus one that just shoots faster and sprays more?
The only real difference, the major difference, is the people that wield the dual guns have evasive movers. Like, they can dodge left, right, and stuff, that's brand new to the game. So, I mean, I know it's not like, new game, but still, I mean, you know, if you've played it, which it sounds like you have, having the ability to quick dodge left and right, like you can like kind of roll left and right, that's going to really change the way people play Splatoon. I mean, it's a very competitive game.
Yeah. I think multiplayer games in general are hard to iterate upon year over year, calling it a sequel. And while I know Call of Duty, of course, has the campaign, a lot of people will play that just for the multiplayer. And I'm always intrigued for the little things that are different between one version and the next. And people will have giant preferences on, say, Black Ops 3 over Advanced or Infinite Warfare. And to me, it's just all Call of Duty. Like, I don't really get into the minutia of that. I know there's an audience like that with Splatoon, and I hope that this is the game that they need and that they want and justifies a sequel for them.
Nathan, do you want to say anything about Splatoon?
I've never played Splatoon, so I don't really have any affinity to it.
I want to clear out some stuff and then make way for the big one to end on. So let's catch up the podcast here. Also announced, NBA 2K18 will come to the Switch in September. Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 will come, as well as Dragon Quest 10 and 11. Project Octopath Traveler, which, that's a terrible name. I 100% agree with anybody that says that. However, what the game showed on stage looked beautiful, and it is from the team at Square Enix that made Bravely Default, so I am completely open to that game. Now, completely not open to Ubisoft releasing Rayman's Legends, the Definitive Edition. I've already played that game on Wii U like 3 years ago. It's been re-released on everything. Ugh. Also not on board, Minecraft will be coming to the Switch for the right price of $60. Who in their mind is paying $60 to play? I don't know. FIFA's coming, Redout's coming, Cube Life's coming, Shovel Knight's coming, Ultra Street Fighter 2, The Final Challengers is coming. I actually really like this, and I know it's stupid to say, Ultra Street Fighter 2 is a SNES game. It is, but this is it's a Switch exclusive, which is always nice to point out, but it has the visuals have been remastered. So you have the ability to play in like old visuals or new visuals. You also have the ability to play local multiplayer, so you can play against a person with their Switch, and you can have two people co-op and play the campaign together. I just thought it was cool. It's a neat way to update an old game like that. So I'm excited about that. Dragon Ball's coming, Minecraft Story Mode's coming, Ukulele's coming, all this kind of stuff. The two that really caught my attention, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is coming. Now, Nintendo keeps saying that this is 2017. It has been confirmed that this is 2017, at least for Japan. That's as far as I could find. They keep saying 2017, so I don't believe them. I really don't, knowing how I tracked Xenoblade Chronicles X for years. But if it is 2017, that's a real big win. I love those games. And then the last one is Fire Emblem Warriors. Here at PSVG, Sean, I'm not sure how much you listen to the show. We are huge fans of Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
I kind of got the ball rolling. Jason did it. Kevin did it. And basically anybody that has a 3DS here on the show all agree Hyrule Warriors is awesome. I think this is exactly what the Fire Emblem franchise needs to maybe endear itself more to Western audience that don't really get into strategy RPGs. I myself love Fire Emblem games and totally super excited for Fire Emblem Warriors. They didn't show anything outside of a little trailer. It's worth mentioning. We have a Nintendo Direct covering that very game next week on the 18th. So that's what I wanted to get out of the way, except for a particular Italian plumber. Am I missing anything from either one of you?
No.
So let's talk Super Mario Odyssey.
Woohoo!
Coming holiday. So a year from now, more or less. 10 months, something like that. 2017 holiday, which, October, November, something like that. The new Nintendo 3D platformer for our favorite Italian plumber, Mario. And in a jarring introduction, we see Mario pop out of a sewer into what looks like a very realistic world, like New York City, and he's hopping off of taxis and swinging off of street signs and hopping up buildings and jumping off of skyscrapers. My wife watched it and she said, "This looks fun. It's like Mario's Spider-Man," which I think is a good analogy. There's a bunch of other worlds that it was shown, so it's worth mentioning that's not the only way, but I do think the majority of the buzz that I'm hearing is all focused on Mario in New York City. So, Nathan, what do you think about Super Mario Odyssey?
I want it now. I'll be honest, it looks fantastic. When I saw this game on the screen, I was glued, I was enamored, and I didn't want to take my eyes off. I mean, the colors look fantastic, the gameplay very reminiscent of harkening back to Mario 64, the recent release on Wii U. Was it 3D Worlds? Super Mario 3D Worlds? And that makes me happy. And the fact that this is just different, right? They've not been in a Mario game in this kind of setting with, you look at the city setting, we'll just call it a city, because it's not New York City, it's not Manhattan, it's just a city. So it's cool to see him running around there, jumping across buildings instead of always just being abstract, fantasy land. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And I want it now. That's the game that I had hoped would say launching March 3rd, along with Zelda. Had they had Zelda and Mario, oh man, this would be a different conversation. I think the tone would be completely different. And it's fantastic to have something to look forward to that we know is going to come. But at the same time, that's a big hitter. So I'm looking forward to see what they say at E3, what's coming down the pipe, right? But man, I really want Mario now. It looks fantastic. It looks great. And I mean, with Mario, you have some. It's a built-in recognition for anybody who's just a casual gamer to see. Oh, there's a new Mario game. This is a new system. I guess I got to get the system and play this Mario game to see what's up. You'll get a lot more casual, quote-unquote casual gamers that way by pulling in Mario. You don't get as many casual gamers with Zelda. You don't. You please the fans with Zelda. So I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to play it. I hope we get like a new Super Mario Switch or something like that in the meantime to have something Mario to play on the console. Because
Mario Maker.
There you go. A Mario without, or a new console, a new Nintendo console without a Mario just doesn't feel right. To my opinion, it just doesn't feel like I need Mario.
Well, I mean, the Wii didn't launch with Mario, right? It launched with Zelda and Super Monkey Ball and Twilight Princess and Wii Sports, and I think Galaxy came much later. But it didn't. The 3DS didn't launch with a Mario game either. So it's hit or miss. I will say that I don't. Okay, and I was saving this for the end, but I'll go ahead and blow this one now. Nathan, to counter your point, I don't think any Nintendo anything has ever launched with Zelda and Mario in year one. Those are typically Zelda 1 year, Mario 1 year. Those are typically a year apart. We're getting Zelda, Mario Kart in the same year, plus Splatoon now. I mean, if you think about it just at that level, just those 4 games in the first year, I mean, if you were to like plan out a schedule, that's a huge year. But I think because the Wii U is so current and because some of these games are ports, people don't seem to have the affinity or the fondness for them. But just having a Zelda and a Mario game in the same year is big, whether they're, 10 months apart or not.
Right. No, and I get that. I don't want to wait 10 months for it.
I know. I'll go ahead and say on the game that I thought it looked like Wii U visually, but there's still 10 minutes to go, and it looks really good for where it is. I love all the different environments, and I love the cap throwing mechanic, and as what I've always said is Mario has never let me down, and until he does, I'll always believe in him. He's always good, if not great, if not amazing. So the worst Mario game I've ever played is above average. The best Mario game I've ever played is usually one of the best games I've ever played. So anytime Mario's coming anywhere, I'm completely interested. So I'll just continue to wait for it. Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the timing is very special here in that we don't really typically see a console being launched in March. Ever. We usually see that maybe save for the handheld. So what we get here instead is a Zelda game that's going to attract all the hardcore people, the people who really follow this stuff. And then we've got the Mario game coming out when casual people have their wallets open for gifts anyway. So the timing is very nice for Nintendo, and I think it'll work out for fans as well. We're going to be busy up until then. And the main thing is, like you kind of put it best there, Donnie, like when you look at it at that level where we've got Zelda, Mario Kart, Splatoon, and then a Mario game in the holiday season, at that level, it's amazing. And to me, unfortunately, it's just that's the only level. So I was looking for a little bit more depth ultimately. So this is kind of like my overall thoughts. I wanted a little bit more depth. At the top level, it's great, but there's just nothing really beneath that surface.
Sure. No, that's absolutely fair. I think that's going to come at a Nintendo Direct. I don't think, this is just my opinion, I don't think that's all we're getting from Nintendo this year, and I don't think that's all we're getting from third parties this year. I do think the timing here is imperative. So let's jump into our final chapter here.
1 second before you do that. I do think that holiday 2017, when Mario comes out, I have a feeling in my bones that that's going to be a pack-in, and they're going to have a special console bundle with it.
I think they're
totally
going to have
agree.
a Mario and Zelda pack-in for the fall.
Yeah. That's the thing that's hard to justify, and, well, we'll get into this. Well, I know where you're going here, Donnie, so.
All right, so we have a question from a listener. He's a really good, dear friend of mine. His name's John. He tweeted at us. He says, quote, "Why should I be more excited about the Switch? Because I'm not." You shouldn't be. If you're not excited right now, that's okay. You don't have to be. One thing that I wanted to say on this podcast, because I've literally been thinking about this statement all day. Guess what? You don't have to buy a console the first day. Mm-hmm. And guess what? If you don't want to buy a console the first day, that doesn't mean the console sucks.
Yep.
I watched 60 minutes of Colin Moriarty basically pronounce the Switch dead. I'm pretty sure he said the same thing about 3DS, and I'm pretty sure he said the same thing about Wii U. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. But here's the thing. Just because the console doesn't deliver what you want it to the very first day it happens, doesn't mean it won't eventually. Consoles aren't bread. They don't have a short expiration life. They sit on the shelves for years. Years.
That's the quote of the podcast.
Consoles aren't bread.
They're not bread. I mean,
true.
I was never interested in a 3DS until Ocarina of Time 3D came, and even then I waited until Link Between Worlds. And guess what? When I got the 3DS, I played hundreds of hours of it, and I love it because it got all the games that were coming, and I waited. If you don't want to be an early adopter, if you don't want to pay the highest price, if Zelda doesn't speak to you, if you haven't been following Zelda for years, don't buy it. Don't rush out and pre-order. Don't try it. That's fine. It's absolutely fine. Wait till Mario. Wait till Smash. Wait till the next Zelda. I mean, you know what's going to happen. These games are going to come. It's not like Nintendo's not going to sell any of these in March and just close in June. They're going to support it at least until 2019. Based on the Wii U, which was a terrible life cycle, they're going to support it until 2020. So it's got time. So I wanted to point that out because a lot of times, especially with Twitter, because in 140 characters, you can only be knee-jerk. And I hope I've presented myself fairly in this podcast. I'm not super excited about the Switch. I will say, Nathan, because you know my back history, I'm not sure how much Sean does. Last night I was like, maybe I made a mistake trading in all my Wii U stuff for the Switch.
You've already done that?
I did that months ago.
Sean, he's very into trading stuff in though.
That's an awful thing to do.
All the
Always.
stuff that I've done,
You will regret.
my kids made me feel a lot better about it today, because last night I was like, maybe that was a mistake. It's going to be a rough, probably 6 months, with the exception of however long Zelda takes to play. You know what? If Zelda's my favorite game in years and it takes me a year to play, then it's going to be an amazing year. Guess what, guys? I'm going to buy a console and play one game, and it's going to be incredible. But I asked my kids today after they watched the presentation, I said, hey, guys, are you kind of upset that we did this? And they were like, no. I want ARMS, and I want 1-2 Switch, and I know they're children, and, you can take that however you want, but they're super excited for all the additions of Mario Kart 8. They screamed when they saw Splatoon. So, you know what? We're fine. But I did want to say that. Not all consoles launch the same. Not all consoles end the same. Look at the PS3. Look how it launched and look how it ended. The story's not going to be told today. The ending to the story won't be written in stone for years. So, John, buddy, if it's not doing it for you, if you don't want to play Zelda, you know what, man, hang off. If you're a Wii U owner and you're like, I'll play Zelda on Wii U, that's great. Go ahead and do it. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. I do want to say, though, we retweeted a video today comparing the two, and the Switch version looks better. I'd say much better. Definitely better. So if you care about that type of stuff, that's definitely something else to think about the Switch. But let's head over to Nathan. Nathan, why should John be more excited about the Switch?
Well, so here's the thing, right? If he's not excited, then that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Not everybody needs to, like you said, hop on the Switch day one. Not everybody even needs to have a Switch ever. If it doesn't speak to you, that's fine. If it doesn't speak to anybody in your household, hey, it's not for you. And as Donnie, you said, if it's Mario that you really want to play, or Star Fox, or Smash Brothers, and just wait for those to come out, then you'll have a library to choose from. And you might have a different version, honestly, of the console. We know that Nintendo likes to give us a new 3DS. Maybe they'll have a new Switch by then. And maybe it'll be jazzed. It'll have double the life expectancy of the battery, 4 hours this time. It'll be time for you at that point. If it's not time for you now, then listen to your gut. It's not going to be for you.
John, why should John be more excited to pre-order the Switch?
Well, you guys are, can I just say, you guys are so nice. Like, just look, it's so, you do you. You just like it. You just follow your heart. If your heart says
the Scotch hasn't gotten to me yet, evidently.
it is so nice, but I think really what is happening here is that we're identifying that the Switch isn't really all that compelling on its own. At least the games that are being offered, I should say. The device itself looks incredible. The game offerings, not so much. So it is completely understandable. I have been struggling with this since the presentation ended last night, where to the point where I don't think that the presentation on its own and the games lineup, even today, 24 hours later, I don't necessarily know that they're earning my money. I don't think that they've really stretched themselves. There's no desperation to me from Nintendo like I thought there would be, where they're not showing that they're third trying to become first. It seems like they're totally fine with just being in dead last. And so I understand the question, and I really wasn't sure that I was going to go ahead and pre-order, and I still don't know. So full disclosure, I was dead set against pre-ordering last night. I did not want to reward that presentation with a pre-order, but the thing is that everybody seems to be so confident in, and that we were talking about earlier tonight, is that there's more coming. There's more news coming. And while that may be true, I disagree with that strategy. I think that's a mistake. I think that people are becoming non-believers before people don't have patience for this. And last night was the chance to win people over, and withholding things so that they can surprise us later is wrong. So if you're not excited, it's not your fault. I think it's Nintendo's fault, and it's okay to acknowledge that. Now, The reason that I have a pre-order is my lovely wife went to an EP Games and she just did it, which is awesome. And we both talked about it tonight over dinner, and we're like, at least we have the option. So tonight I can really think about it from a very rational place. I can make the decision not based on, am I going to be able to get one, because I know I can. It's mostly going to be based on, is this something that I want and that I need in my life? I already have 2 other systems, 3, 4 if you count my portables. I have lots to play. In fact, I've been looking for ways to simplify my life. Removing Nintendo from the equation would be a quick and easy way to do that, and that might be blasphemous for some people to hear, but really, they've not really put a lot in front of me. So there are many reasons to be excited. The portability of this thing is my major factor. A big Zelda game and a big Mario game are big factors, but I need a little bit more for them to really earn my business. So my pre-order is there now, but I'm hovering over that cancel button. So I understand the trepidation. I get it. It's a complex issue, trust me.
I love that. Vote with your wallet. I've seen a lot of people say that today, and I absolutely support it. Vote with your wallet. So now that we're talking about vote with your wallet, and I like that you use Chelsea as your little excuse. You hide behind your wife. I like that.
She just went and did it. Well, yeah, I was surprised.
She went
also
and did
thought,
it. I like that.
She knew that eventually I would be disappointed if I missed out. If they were all sold out everywhere, I would be bitching, whining, and complaining. And so she's just trying to avoid that, I think.
Well,
smart lady.
All sold out anywhere is where we're going to close. Because I want to ask you both if you pre-ordered, and I want to ask you about your experience and just, any other closing thoughts you have to say. I will begin with, I have pre-ordered my Switch. My journey has been 5 months in the making. When the trailer was unveiled, my kids said, Sean, you want to hide behind your wife? I'll hide behind my kids. My kids said, we should trade the Wii U in and get the Switch because all the Wii U games are coming to the Switch anyway. So we did. And I turned all that credit over today, and I got a Switch, and I got extra Joy-Cons, and I got an extra grip, and I didn't get a Pro controller because I'm buying, at least for me, my reasoning is I'm buying for a family. We're going to play games together. We always play games together. On our Wii U Remember Me episode, I mentioned that the Wii U is like my favorite console, and it's not because I thought it was the best. I do want to clarify. It's because the Wii U came at a point in my life where I was playing video games with my children. My daughter was 5 when we got the Wii U, and she's now about to turn 10, and we've played tons of Splatoon and Mario Kart together, and we've streamed it on YouTube. It just represents so much fun and love and things that we did together just with us, without PSVG, just within my household. That had more to do with me loving the Wii U than anything else, and we look forward to playing the Switch, so we need extra controllers. And could I get a Pro controller? I sure could have, but I got the Joy-Cons because I can split those off, and the entire family can play. So we have 4 Joy-Cons, so the wife can play, and my kids can play, and I can play, and we got the little grips that they can slide into to make the bumpers better. So, we did all that. I got the Master Edition of Zelda because I am that Zelda fan. If you are a Zelda fan, you have to get the Switch on day one. You don't want to wait 180 days to play Zelda when everybody has already played and beaten it and talked about it to death. You want to be there day one. You want to share your thoughts on Twitter. You want to find all the secrets. It's more fun playing games that way. And then I will admit, a big part of me jumping into this was PSVG, PlaySomeVideoGames.com. We had so much fun this year, Nathan. It's almost been a year. Can you believe that?
Mm-hmm.
We've had 12,000 people come visit the site with thousands of downloads on the podcast. I almost feel indebted to be there on March 3rd to tell you what I thought about it my first day with it. So that has a lot to do with it. But long story short, I went in today and I pre-ordered it, and I drove an hour and a half to my favorite GameStop at my old house, which is on the other side of the city of Atlanta, and there were 20 people in line ahead of me. And one person, a scalper, I must admit, he was one of 2 scalpers that was there, brought 6 people with him so he could reserve the Switch 6 times, because you can only reserve 1 per person. And I'll just let the internet know that I told him that he was an asshole. And I'm happy that I did, and we had a heated exchange of words, but, I'm getting real tired of this. It seems to be a Nintendo fan problem. I don't think it's a Nintendo problem, because, it's not Nintendo's fault that they make games that come under high demand. But geez, it's Nintendo fans. If they keep buying scalpers and they keep paying twice what things cost because they want it so bad, then these people will keep doing it. But I'll let you know that I said my words to him. We exchanged some words. He tried to explain to me that it wasn't illegal. He wasn't doing anything wrong. I tried to explain to him that he was stopping somebody from getting what they wanted. He actually let me go in front of him, so I thank him. It was nice. I still don't agree with what he was doing, but I can't blame GameStop and I can't blame Nintendo because, the Wii U, we killed Nintendo for only selling 13 million Wii U's, and then we kill scalpers for buying, as many as they can. Like, there's got to be a balance there. If somebody wants to pay for 15 Switches, you got to let them do it. It helps the bottom line at the end of the day. And all I ever want is for all the game companies to make money, be healthy, keep making games that we love. So that was my experience. So I got the Joy-Cons, I got Zelda. I didn't buy any other day one game. I'll say that. There's no other day one. There's no other month one game that I purchased. I purchased Lego City Splatoon and Mario Kart. So I'm planning on playing Zelda almost exclusively until I see what other downloadable indie games are coming. And that was my experience today. Nathan, did you pre-order the Switch? Would you encourage others to pre-order the Switch? And did you have any problems?
So after the conference last night, I stayed up and I was talking with you guys and online, just processing what I thought and, reading other people's reactions to the presentation as well. And in so doing, I was also kind of just waiting to see when these pre-orders would start to go live and kind of what the demand would be. Walmart went live first, and they were sold out, or at least their pre-orders closed within a few minutes. And so I was like, well, maybe I should go ahead and, Sean was able to do, get that, take the desire really out of the equation, and being able to really focus and make an educated decision, taking emotion out of it. So by pre-ordering it, I at least put my name in the hat, so I'll get one. So I waited around a little bit longer, and Best Buy finally came up, which is my preferred gaming purchase location, we'll call it. So Best Buy came up, I saw it on there. I didn't want the neon controllers, so I got the gray controllers, and I just put that in a single pre-order, got it. And then I looked to see what games were starting to come up, and I pre-ordered the Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's the only game I pre-ordered. Except I did later on realize that there was a special edition and a master edition later this morning. And I wish I would have known there was a master edition last night where I could find it. And I wasn't able to get the master, Donnie, so congratulations on that. It'd be kind of nice to have that Zelda sword statue sitting around. But alas, I hope it goes to a true fan.
You can thank the scalper that ordered 6 of them.
That's ridiculous.
What a... Ugh.
I know. So I did get the special, or was it called deluxe edition, pre-ordered of that. And by so doing at Best Buy, you get 20% off if you have Gamer Club unlocked. So $100 MSRP is actually $80 for me. So it's kind of nice to have that Gamer Club unlocked, especially for these collector's editions. And that's all I'm going to be playing as far as what retail available games that we know of right now. But I'm curious to see what they have for Virtual Console. I really want to know what they're planning on launching with. There has to be something on Virtual Console that you can download day one. There has to be.
GameCube games.
I would love that. If I could get Rogue Leader on my Switch, dude,
that won't
it's
happen.
Game over. I wish it would. That'd be so great. Hey, a guy can dream. Let me dream. And if I could play that, Smash Melee, that's something that could happen. Those would be games that I would get day one. Or, hey, even give me Nintendo 64 versions of Star Fox. Give me something that I've really been looking for. The Super Nintendo version of Star Fox. Anything. And if they do have games that you previously purchased that I can download on the Switch, even if it's just $1, I'd pay $1 to download it. And that'd be all I need to get going and to last until there's another game that I want. But as Sean said, I'm hovering over that cancel button. I literally am waiting for this direct to come out, waiting for, as we get closer to release, what more information they tell us, what the OS is going to do by itself. I feel like I need just a little bit more of a reason to keep it. But the fact that I have pre-ordered it, I have the option to opt out when it comes to the March 3rd release date. Or heck, I could even buy it from Best Buy, and I could return it because they have a 15-day return policy. If I buy it and I decide, this just really isn't for me, I feel like I need to wait on this, I have that option. So looking forward to being able to actually make that educated decision on March 3rd, and really up until that point understand if this pre-order is something that I want to keep, because $400 is nothing to shake a stick at. You're between the game and the console, which is all I'll be buying. It's about $400 for that special edition of Zelda and the console. So, and let me ask you guys this: if you had, for 2016, you could only buy one thing, and your options are the Switch, the Scorpio, or let's throw PSVR in the mix too. Of those three, what would you go for $400? What would you choose?
So I don't think this. Oh, okay. I didn't expect this happening. I don't expect the Scorpio to cost less than $400. The PS4 would have to come with a Pro, and then the Switch would be the bottom of those three options. If I had to choose one of those three options, so I'm assuming PS4 with or PS4 Pro with a VR, or Xbox Scorpio, or Nintendo Switch. Right now, I'm going to vote Nintendo Switch. And I'm going to do it because of this reason that I don't think is all that crazy. We don't know yet what's coming to VR. We don't know yet what exclusive first-party game is going to launch with Scorpio. We do know that the Switch in 2017 will have Mario Kart, Splatoon, the new Zelda game, the new mainline series Zelda game that we've been waiting on for like a decade, and a new Mario game. And those four games alone would make me say, I'll place my bet there until I know more. Sean?
Okay.
I don't know. I think it is the Switch, but I'm not really crazy about any of them, to be honest. It's so lame, but I'm not crazy about VR. I'm intrigued by Scorpio, but I'm not certain. I am very excited by what that could possibly do, but I need them to sell it to me in that I'm not buying a 4K TV anytime soon. So very different devices. So I like the question. Obviously, I've got my money is on the Switch. Literally right now, I've got whatever, probably $50 towards the Switch. So I guess I'm leaning that way. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting year. It's definitely going to be shaken up from what we've been used to over the last couple of years that are mostly the same as usual.
Oh, it's going to be a great E3. Sean, I know you said you've already pre-ordered the Switch. You hide behind your wife. I appreciate that. Do you think other people should buy the Switch March 3rd?
I think you should pre-order it if it's going to make you feel less stress. I think that's really the only thing, is that as we get older, we now have other things to worry about, but for some reason video games still get us as amped up and anxious as ever. So if it's going to reduce the stress in your life, then I say just do it. If it means that you can think about it later, then yeah, you've always got the option. The thing about these pre-orders is that you can always cancel them. So pre-order it, think about it. At least you won't be... I think you'll be acting, or at least I would be acting very irrationally if come launch time and I didn't have it pre-ordered, and I'd be freaking out because everybody's got one and I can't get one. At least the ball's in my court. I can at least control it. And that to me is worth the $50 down payment and the little hold that I've got on there, the reservation. So if that's kind of where you're at, if you're kind of in the same mindset as me, pre-order it. If you don't care, and if you can totally hold out until a holiday where there will likely be a bundled in game, some special edition consoles, something, maybe that's it. That's there for you as well. And I just want to say this. I don't pre-order consoles. I actually did wait on Xbox One. I waited on PlayStation 4 as well. Waited for something. And I usually think that that's worthwhile. The last console I got on day one was the Wii U. And that was awesome. So that was another reason that I wasn't really going to be getting this day one, but I just know myself that when everybody's talking about it and when everybody is playing Zelda and just going crazy over this game, I want it to be part of that. And that's the other thing too. This is so complicated. I've got that thing. I've got Zelda Breath of the Wild pre-ordered on my Wii U, and I've had it pre-ordered since they announced it back in, what was it, 2014?
Yeah.
So that was my backup. Like that was my, if nothing else, at least I have that as an option, and that still may be my option. So that's where I'm at. And if you line up with that, then copy. If not, do the opposite.
Nathan, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to say?
Well, I didn't touch on it earlier because I kind of forgot to mention it when we were talking about the hardware, but I would like to say Nintendo is on the right track with using the USB-C charger. They're using an actual uniform charging adapter instead of trying something proprietary. So I do want to give them props for that. Good job. Final thoughts on the Nintendo Switch presentation and first impressions. It's not what I wanted to see, and it's not what I wanted to feel going away from the presentation. I feel like that, I have an inner Nintendo fanboy that really wants to come out. And play Zelda, that play all these great games and be as excited about first-party stuff as I used to be. Because I used to Nintendo 64 was my jam. I love Star Fox and, playing Super Nintendo games. And I really wanted to be able to come back and be like, this is fantastic. This is a gamer's console again. This is what I want to do. For me, motion controls will never do it. I hated it when they did it on PlayStation 4, and I'm glad that the controller was never used as a motion thing on the Xbox One, except it kind of was, but it wasn't. So, motion controls for me are a huge turnoff, but as long as you don't have to use them playing Zelda, I'll be fine. If there's a part that has waggle and you gotta waggle your controller to make it work, that's going to turn me off right away.
I just saw a tweet. Somebody got really excited that the Joy-Cons could mean that we end up with an HD Skyward Sword remake.
Well, that's true. That's a very good point.
Could have more Wii HD remakes than we either want or knew were coming. So that's interesting.
I want every Zelda HD remake to come to Switch.
Skyward Sword is not good, so I'll say that, and you can chew on that for a little bit. Skyward Sword is a bad game.
But if it was remastered,
then it'd be 1080p of boring sky to fly through.
Oh, come on.
It's boring. Oh, God.
It is.
Nope.
The early parts are, but remember...
The whole game.
What they did to Wind Waker and what they did to Twilight Princess, less on Twilight Princess, but what they did to Wind Waker, if they gave that same treatment to Skyward Sword, I'd play it again in a heartbeat.
Sure.
You know what, you can say what you want about Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword is still better than 80% of video games that come out.
I disagree. I think it's I don't even think it's just a bad Zelda game. I think it's a bad game.
Okay.
I thought I would just throw that in the end there. How about that, Donnie?
That's fine. I'm going to sit here and cringe. Nathan?
Honestly, I forgot my train of thought at that point. The scotch is now kicking in. But I did want to just say that, hey, I ended up pre-ordering it, and I will make my call as we get closer, but I still have hope for this to be won over by it, and I am looking forward to being able to actually play Zelda because that game looks fantastic. That trailer looks amazing. The conference needed a mic drop moment, and they got it with Zelda. For a second there, we were all in the same boat and thinking, are they not going to show Zelda? Because it was totally a Nintendo thing not to show what you want to see. And as soon as they showed that really solidified me going out and pre-ordering it. So that's my final thoughts. I hope that if you pre-ordered it, or if you wanted to get it pre-ordered, you were able to, and that come March 3rd, you'll be super excited about the new Nintendo. Guys, Nintendo just announced a new console, and an official release date for Zelda Breath of the Wild, and a new Mario game. Come on, we should be excited about this.
I am excited about this. In 2013, I walked into a store to reserve my Wii U, and there was no line, and nobody cared, and I actually got laughed at. And when it came out, I walked in and I picked it up, and there was no line, and there was nobody else there to buy one. And for years, I talked about all the fun games that I was playing. And today I walked in, scalpers or no scalpers, today I walked in, and there was a line of several people that wanted the Switch. And by every account of tweeting and information on YouTube and everything, this thing is pre-ordering very fast. I think it was funny that here inside the PSVG staff, for the last 3 weeks, we've all been arguing over whether or not we would be able to pre-order one. And pre-orders have been, I would say, plentiful. If you wanted to pre-order a Switch, you should have been given the opportunity to do so today. It's not like all the scalpers, everybody got one at 3 a.m. in the morning. you should have got one if you wanted one today.
That's the way it should be. That's the way pre-orders always should be. It should never drive us into madness, especially in the first moments that it's available.
Absolutely. And I really enjoyed, I saw that Best Buy and Amazon, they both sold out early. They both came back on later, which is what I thought they would do. They're doing it in waves. I can't wait to play Zelda. I'm such a mark for Zelda. I mean, the Nintendo fanboy aside, I love Zelda games. It literally, if they stopped making Zelda games, I'd stop being a Nintendo fan. So I'm so excited to play Zelda. I'm so excited for anybody that's going to play Zelda. I don't care where you play. If you're playing on the Switch, you're playing on the Wii U. I can't wait to play it. I can't wait to put my hands on it. I already planning like vacation ahead of time so I can be home and stream and video, and I want to do everything that we can do for you. I'm just so excited. And you're right, Nathan. We have a new Nintendo console coming. And I want to reiterate that the timing here is interesting. This isn't a console that's launching in mid-October. This console launches in March, and they said that they're going to have 2 million units available worldwide in March. And then we go April, May, and then E3. I don't think we know what the Switch has this year yet. There's more to come. There's been tons of rumors. Mother 3, Smash, there's other things coming. Lots of people are talking. So I would say don't be swayed by any opinion today. If you're that close, if you can let anybody sway your opinion, whether it be mine or somebody else's, just wait. Just wait. Give it 6 months, and I think all will become clear. I want to thank Sean Capri for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, man. It's been a long time coming. We've wanted to invite you for a long time, but we have a big staff. We always want to rotate people through. But we want to save special guests for special moments. And what not a better moment than kick off a new Nintendo console. So I'm going to ask you one more time, let everybody know where they can find Sean Capri and listen to more of his great conversations.
Oh, thanks, man. It's been an awesome time. Thank you for having me. It has been a long time coming. So people can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri. That, of course, is Sean like Connery. Capri like the pants. I do We the Gamer Cast. It's on iTunes and Google Play every Monday. You can also find it on WeTheNerdy.com. And then I also do If We Ran Nintendo, where I'm sure we're going to have lots of more Switch talk. Bobby and I had a great, although heated conversation last night. I've since cooled down a little bit. I had a heated conversation yesterday on If We Ran Nintendo, so you can check that out on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and on YouTube.com/Nintendo Guru.
Fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you've stuck with us this far, 1 hour, 40 minutes in, I thank you for listening to the PSVG podcast, the official podcast of PlaySomeVideoGames.com, the only podcast that searches across the internet and our podcast family to give you the best Nintendo Switch reactions that money can buy. Shh, don't tell anybody you paid for this. Thanks for joining. Like us on iTunes, do your reviews, do all the stuff that Kevin says. I don't remember any of that stuff. So, it's a train wreck here without Kevin. We'll get his thoughts next week. Jason Lacey's thoughts next week. I'm actually quite surprised. Nathan, back me up. A lot of the PSVG staff are pre-ordering the Switch. I can't believe it. Everybody hated the Wii U. Everybody loves the Switch.
The shack is due for some renovations.
Cats and dogs are loving each other. People's heads are falling off. It's an amazing time right now. So, everyone, thanks for downloading. We appreciate it. And as always, remember, boys and girls, never stop gaming.
Thank you for listening to Play Some Video Games, the official podcast.